Okay, now, today we have a guest. I'm Dr. Christopher Kevin Slaton. I want to welcome you to the Brains Body Podcast. Now, wait a minute. Dr. Slaton Live Brains Body Ultimate Experience. We haven't decided yet, but you might find it on YouTube as well. But I have Mr. Tony Slaton, Mr. Eclectic today. Now, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast to help us reach 3,000 subscribers. Let my guests know you like the show. That means like the show, right? Your support allows us to bring more reflective storytelling from amazing guests like the one we have today. Welcome to the Brains Body Podcast. Today, my fascinating guest returns.
Dr. Slaton, I'm doing well. 3 weeks out from a hip replacement surgery, and the recovery is going good. The rehab, strengthening, flexibility, and getting to feel better every day.
Well,
Yes.
that's wonderful. That's what we want to hear. Okay, so you ready then? So here's the first thing I want to know.
Yes.
Now, can you share more about the injury you sustained during your NFL career and the impact it had on your life? From your childhood perspective, you were alerting me to earlier
Mm-hmm.
to what we are
Mm-hmm.
right now. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Mr. Tony.
So I learned at an early age that I was good at football, and it brought a lot of praise and accolation and support and encouragement from people. And so, little kids, and you have that big hit, and you get back up, and everybody is clapping and praising you and talking about your toughness. And so, that's kind of where things started. So, you get out there, and you may be nicked up or something, but there's such positive reinforcement to keep going that you do get up, you do tough it out, you do shake it off, and all those kinds of things in the words that we used to use. As it relates to the injury, the injury professionally, I can go back, even further and talk about me recognizing my body. So as a kid, I was always a big kid. I was the biggest kid in the school, but also a lot of times the fastest kid in the school. And so it was a kind of a unique combination. And when I was introduced to football, those things went really well together. You can be big and fast, and so that was a good combination. I didn't necessarily, and I know this now, and I'm going backwards, have a football type of body. I was big, chubby, uh, big thighs, big butt, long legs, long arms. I wasn't very strong, and so early on in football, and even later on, um, I was starting to recognize that after a practice or after a game, it took me longer to recover, longer than other people. You look at yourself in comparison to folks. And so some people, after high school games, would be going out and having a good time and this and that. And I was going home and resting my body. And it became really evident when I got to college. And so in high school, you may have 11 or 12 games in a season, and you're ended up in November. Your season ends in November, playoffs and whatever, all of that. My first year at the University of Southern California, the team went to the Rose Bowl, and so we were playing football and practicing all the way up to January, which was a full month, a month and a half longer than I had ever uh, played football. And so I could feel it. I remember thinking, man, this is a long season. This is, really hard on the body. And I wasn't even a player. I was a freshman on a championship quality team, caliber team. Didn't play, just practice, ran the scout team, which was running the other team's plays for your team. So an offensive lineman coming in, and it was tough. It was really tough, but I really recognized the length of the season and the recovery time after. Again, guys that were playing active, they would practice all week and have a game, and we wanted to go out and party and this and that. And I was trying to get somewhere and sit down and get off my feet. So, that's some of the background. I just did not have really the body for it, the strength for it, the recovery. And I know that now. I didn't know that then. I was just pushing myself to become a player, become part of a team to get more playing time, which wasn't even a reality, my freshman and sophomore year.
Moving now, what motivated you to continue playing through the injuries? What motivated you? What was it that kept you inspired to understand? Yes, I don't feel comfortable, but you charged ahead.
You know what? I'm competitive. I'm competitive, and so I came in a freshman class of offensive linemen that included some really notable folks. So I'm from small town Merced, and recruited to the University of Southern California, and well known, a kind of a big name in my community. But when I get down to Southern California, our freshman recruiting class of offensive linemen included Don Mosbar, who was probably the most highly recruited offensive lineman probably in the nation. A guy named Bruce Matthews, who was out of the Los Angeles area, and all city, all county, all this and that. Daryl Moore, who was eventually my roommate and best friend, all city, Los Angeles, and they brought a guy down from Seattle, Washington, Rob Hedquist, who was a center. And so when we lined up to do scout team, just the freshmen were on campus, and there were probably 7 or 8 of us, which there wasn't even a line position for each of us. And so Tony from small town Merced, just had to figure out how to fit in, how to get some action. And so the competitiveness in me kind of kept me going. There was no, there was a who can do this. There was just a vetting process, a weeding out process. And again, my competitiveness kept pushing me. You didn't want to be last. You didn't want to be the one cut or left out, and those sorts of things. And so if you got nicked up or something, there was no timeout, or they would just move on. And so you learn early on that you got to keep going. If this is what you want to do, if this is what you're committed to, then you push yourself, whether that be injury or whatever.
Teach them the concept of competing from where you were then now. How would you talk to them about, yeah, go ahead.
Again, 40, 45 years later, I think there was a time in my life when I struggled kind of so football is over, and to redefine yourself. Who am I? Who am I now? And so and I came to the revelation. So, I played football, but I was not necessarily a football player. What I was competitive, and I didn't know, back in 79, 80, how to compete in other areas. So I knew how to compete with my body on the football field, but I didn't necessarily know how to compete in the classroom with 400 other people for grades, or be on a university campus or whatnot. And so in thinking about this, this is a concept that you and I talk about, is formatting. And so the competitiveness in me, I think, could have taken me a whole lot of places. I just didn't know those places. And again, I hear more now than ever, you don't know what you don't know. But I was not formatted university. And so to know how to use a university, a quick funny story again around that formatting. And so the socialization, the networking that goes on, that I'm still being introduced to as a seasoned adult, I didn't know how to navigate that. I was in classrooms where people with students from all over the world. So wealthy students from just all over the world. And in one of my business classes, there was a guy, and his father was like over one of the Korean airlines. And for a field trip, they took the class to LAX to go into the Korean Airlines, so they opened up the plane and hauling hauling the cargo and whatnot. The point I make is that I was so centered on football and being a success on the field, I wasn't building the relationships and the networks outside of that really could carry a person who'd been properly formatted to understand a university and all that it would have to offer. I had no knowledge of that, no inkling of it.
That came with being the player that you turned out to be?
Um, I I was in the right place at the right time in the right style of football with the right coaching and support to do that. Um, Again, when I talk about body types in football, my friends and people who know me and that I played with, uh, my body has always been kind of a joke, you know. Uh, yeah, and so people, would look at me and assume, but what they couldn't really capture was probably what was going on inside of me and my competitiveness. And so I could will my body to do things. And particularly at USC and the style of football and what we did, and me eventually moving to center, I was a little bit bigger, I was a little bit quicker, and the thing that they asked me to do, um, and I remember this clearly, they had a thing called scramble. And so the center would scramble on the nose guard, the guy directly across from him, and kind of keep him down to the ground and get up and get to the next level. And I really became a master of that via repetition, via great coaching. And so my skills and talent fit into a system, and it fit pretty good. It fit pretty good. And so just to get better and better at that.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Now, we're still talking. I am really absorbed by the concept of competing, in which you just expressed to me and explained to me, because there's a difference when you are intellectually prepared to respond to complexity. That other individual on the other side, who you have to dominate, as you're pointing out to me. And so you have to already know what you can do and what you cannot do, and then capitalize. That's why I was talking about making an observation and whatnot. But I really believe this next question is going to bring it all home for you. And remember, we're talking about competing, but I'm going to twist just a little bit. How did your parents' support influence your journey through recovery and your decision to keep pushing forward?
So, my parents' support of me was not. I didn't think conditional. My parents loved me, and I knew that, and they wanted the best for me. Um, they wanted me to do my best. So again, competing, compete in the classroom, compete in school, compete in sports. None of us knew that really the end game. There was no actual plan or what this would look like. But I think in
Good.
alignment with their values and in alignment with kind of what I believe is that when you do your best and good things happen. When you bring your and that's really related to competing. So the competition on the field was working. I was able to compete well enough in the classroom, and not just to stay eligible, but to advance and eventually graduate with a degree from a university. And so even that was competing in a sense to get to that end game. In a previous video, we talked about my father and that glue in your shit and stick to itness. And we really collectively as a family may not have understood the total value of a degree, but we knew that was the goal, and we competed and we stuck to that to get there. So yeah, my parents were extremely supportive of me. Um, Injury wise and football wise, they were less included. I didn't tell them of all the things that I had to do to stay competitive, play football. And again, we're blending some things here now across multiple levels, high school, college, and professionally. If I talk professionally, there would be some stories. Yeah.
What advice would you give to other athletes who might be facing similar challenges and injuries in their own careers?
You know what? I would work with that formatting and so that they understand the systemic uh, position that they're in under and specifically to folks that are going into the college or university system and doing sports to understand the totality of of the operation or of the opportunity. And so there's certainly the athletic opportunity that gets you there, but then there's a whole world of other opportunities that you can touch on, the social aspects of it. So meeting people, networking, making connections. I met yesterday with a very good friend of mine, and we just reflected on the importance of the friendship and um, in a sense, more reflective storytelling between he and I around our lives, and that we're not so different, the similarities, the things we want for ourselves, for our families, for children, for the community. They're not different things, but I think you can become isolated. So again, talking to a young person, don't get isolated, meet people, expand yourself, expand your thinking beyond just your sport, and look for ways to access and utilize the opportunities that are all around you. In a sense, well, I'll just go right into the story. One of my best friends and a person that I stay in contact with today, Willie Woo, Willie Woo, who was our academic advisor, and we turned out to be great friends. But in talking to him and him knowing my story, he really helped me to navigate through the university system around the academics and classes and whatnot. So I give him a whole lot of credit for um, my success in college or having actually graduated from college. Other people, I can't tell my story without talking about the people. I had a high school football coach, a guy named Sam Parker, who went to the University of California, Berkeley. He's about 10 years ahead of me. Uh, and Sam would actually tutor me in math over the telephone. He was living in Minnesota at the time, and he would tutor me in math over the telephone. And that's back when a long distance call was a long distance call, so somebody had to
Yeah,
pay for it.
yeah.
Those kinds of things. But uh, I would again you tell a young person to learn to utilize your network, your friends, um, and when you need help, don't be shy about it. Let people know you're struggling. There's help out there. Yeah.
Monetary variable, we talking about money. The whole industry is driven by the concept of becoming a millionaire, okay, the lottery. So how much of the experience from where you can recall was driven by your desire to earn large sums of money just to play football?
You know, Dr. Slayton, that was a different time. The money was different. Honestly, I don't know that any large part of it was. Again, when I talk to my friends, I talk about how naive we were. And so, again, you roll the clock back 45 years and it's a totally different dynamic. Players are locked into, you sign your letter of intent and you're locked into a university, school or college or university. You can't transfer. There's no mobility. I think at that time there was even a penalty. So if you transferred to a school within your conference, you'd have to sit out 2 years, and you only had 4 years of eligibility. You know, those sorts of things. Players couldn't get paid. This true story. We were going to the Fiesta Bowl down in Arizona, and we were playing against Penn State. I think we were maybe the number 2 ranked team in the country. I don't remember exactly. And we were at the Marriott. I was sitting with one of the coaches, and I was trying to get a shrimp cocktail, and I was denied a shrimp cocktail because he thought it might have been a violation of the rule. I mean, little things,
Yeah, yeah.
and to know now that that activity generated millions and millions of dollars for a university, and the starting center on the team that included a Heisman Trophy winner was trying to get a shrimp cocktail and couldn't get it. And again, it speaks to the time and really, some of what I call my naivety. And so you asked about the monetary. It was a different time. I didn't understand it, wasn't formatted for it. I was just kind of doing the next thing, the next appropriate thing. Guys before me, I had watched them go on to be successful, and my resume looked pretty similar to their resumes, and so I thought, assumed that it was just kind of a continuation. But I knew it wasn't for everybody. Everybody didn't have the accolades and the success and those things. But again, no full knowledge of it. No full knowledge of it. I think again in reflection, the backstory for me was the injuries and the body. Again, when I think about my football career, I may have physically peaked probably as a junior in college, when everything was in sync. So brain, body, everything, coaching, really was in sync, and we were we had a pretty good team. And from there, there may have been a lot of not coasting, but moving forward off of your work. I laid a foundation that would sustain me, and so I don't know that I was necessarily getting bigger, stronger, faster, or better. That was kind of a high point globally or overall. I was able to hit peaks of performance, certainly in my senior year in college, and even at the professional level. But moving to the professional level, it was a whole different game, a whole new level of competitiveness and competition. And so in college, you had good teams, great teams, and some not so good teams. And so from week to week to week, there was fluctuation. Professionally, you went against the best of the best every day in practice and every Sunday in a game.
Fascinating. No, that was a fascinating story. Before I ask you to close, because to me, moving through college's program, from the way that you're describing it, because when you go into the pros, you expect to go to a whole other level. Yeah, you're supposed to understand how to train your body, but now you got to process the experience and then perform at that level because that's monetary. And based upon how well, and what you're explaining is in college, you mastered the craft, which made you eligible to go professionally into that next level. And that next level, you had to process the experience of college to move beyond college into the new expectations of the NFL, which was beyond the football field. It was beyond the football field and into real life aspirations, expectations. So, I mean, bring us home, Mr. Tony. You've done a good job, reflective storytelling. What would you like to add? How would you like to close? This is your show, your story. Go ahead, Mr. Tony.
I think I would close with really just understanding the situation. And so it's been a journey for me to unpack it after all these years and to understand all that was going on, the complexity of it all, the systemic place, the marketplace of athletics. I I didn't know, again, but you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. And so uh, um, you get locked into things and situations, and you do the best you can. I still stand by this. And what I would tell you, you really hang in there long enough to get an understanding so that you can move, so that you can move forward. Didn't we'd have to do a whole show on professional football, you know. Again, you each level more and more competitive. And so somewhere in there, football changed from a game to a business, a high level business.
Absolutely.
And there
Yeah.
really wasn't a whole lot of discussion of it. I think maybe the assumption was that everybody knows this or you should know this. Uh, but you go from something you're doing as part of a team and hanging out with your friends to grown men, and this is how I pay for my house and my car and feed and take care of my kids. And there's a whole nother level of competitiveness.
If I can, now, going from where you are, I talk a lot about programming. And I want to be clear, program is training. You have to have program. But what makes the difference from a human system research perspective, the study of self, I'm in it, all right? And what I'm saying is when you can process the program going to class, for example, and you understand the meaning of going to class, then you go to the next level of processing the experience. How do you apply it? That's what you're describing to me. Moving through program and going step by step, but unaware of that next level until you get into that next level. But processing the program is as you're moving through understanding the experience of going to school, you begin to realize the influence that you are acquiring. That's the processing of the experience firsthand, where you go to the next level of insight, vision, forward feed, and you begin to realize I can practice understanding over here because a lot of us African Americans have a problem with school because some of us say it's too Eurocentric, but that's the program for you to fit into society sociologically. So all you're talking about is how do I cultivate myself? I'm telling my perspective. You're talking about how do I cultivate myself so that I'm more comfortable with the contact interaction, which really allowed me to excel. In my culture, that may not have been okay. Isolation, withdrawal, security, not overexposing yourself. This is what we're talking about, not digesting the program, but resisting the program and letting the process get bottled down in a negative growth cycle where you're frustrated because you shoulda, coulda, but didn't. To me, we're talking about one of the most critical things that I've experienced this week, even publishing my book, where I have to go through professionals who have a job and I'm sending the dream through and they're treating it like it's a job when they're being paid to take the author's dream, put it into reality. But because of their job, you got to go through this emotion and wow, why you and slowdowns and because they can't get over the fact me, an African American, can put forward that type of knowledge. Wait a minute, I'm still talking about program, process, because to get through it, I had to digest all that, not get emotional, not get upset, but stay grounded, understanding that when you arrive, you have to believe it. So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you believe when you locked out sociologically in the experience of the program to have that forethought to realize who and what you really are. No, because that's the monetary variable that we've been talking about throughout the show. So I'm saying to you, your reflections were very, very powerful for me. And then I'm flipping it back and I'm saying I'm applying it to the kid who's having difficulty going to school because they don't think it's for them. But what we're saying is school is the program. You process the program so that when you get to adulthood, you have choices that are economically suited to you because you understood the experience. That's what I'm hearing you say. That's what I'm hearing you say. So yeah, I want to thank you again, Ms. Tony. Now I don't want to be the last voice. So if you want to say something else before we cut off, please go right on ahead.
I would just, when you were just speaking, I reflected on friends and former teammates and the successes that they have gone on to have, and I'm happy for them. But I think the revelation is that they, though nobody may have articulated it, they figured it out. And so how to compete in other areas and how to find success beyond the athletic that brought us all together, but how it's branched out. And so to have friends who are successful business people, educators, coaches, mentors, teachers, executive, it covers the gamut. And so again, though it may not have ever been articulated, enough came through that you look out, and I'm blessed for the association, and I'm happy for how lives have turned out.
So I want to thank you, Ms. Tony, for being on the show today, the Brains Body Podcast. I want to remind everybody out there to subscribe to the show so we can bring Ms. Tony back and other guests. Ms. Tony, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to tell my story. Thank you.